What's up, all you beautiful people? Welcome to another episode. So today I was talking with Anuj and talking about the idea that there is a button or a lever in your life that, when pressed or pulled, can absolutely break you. There's something, some dimension of your existence that you are incredibly vulnerable, and you probably know what that is right now. And a lot of us, though you know what that thing is, you don't want to look at it and you don't want to embrace it. You don't want to start working on it. And so it looms in the back of your mind like this boogeyman that someday might be coming for you, and you'll deal with it then. And this episode, we talked about how the people have different coping techniques, and you've developed some coping techniques in your life right now that have allowed you to be successful to a degree to get to where you are. But that when you experience that one thing, that one button finally gets pushed that none of your current coping techniques maps onto, they will not serve you anymore. You will find yourself in new, deep, dark, scary waters. And the question is, what do you do next? So this episode is a little bit more, I don't even know how I would describe it, but it's a little bit more raw, a little bit less tactical, practical, but it will give you some things that you need to start thinking about now. Far better to think about these things now before they actually occur, because it's just a matter of time until they occur. So that when they do, inevitably arise, it's not the first time that you're wrestling with that monster. So hope you guys enjoy this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Everybody has a different psychology and a different biological makeup. So some people are just more resilient and more stress resistant, and just don't go to those kind of depressive cycling places. Some people just naturally aren't like that. And you strike me as a person that has this a naturally positive disposition in life. In psychology, that's what we would call it, is positive demeanor, positive disposition. And so you were probably a happy baby. You were probably smiling a lot just naturally. You're probably you probably weren't crying a lot. Some people, they were crying babies, right? And with all that said, you're probably more resilient and resistant to stress just generally than the average person. Yeah. But what's interesting is that everybody has something. Yeah. Everybody has a button and something that they will go through, that they will go through in life that will challenge them very, very deeply. Yeah. And it's when your prior coping mechanisms no longer map onto your current situation that you fall into that depression. Yeah. And so take the example of, okay, your business fails. It's okay, when my business fails in the past, I just work harder. It's cool, this is my inspiration. I'm going to go work harder. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, then look at Chris Williamson with his health issues, right? And he talks about this. His coping mechanism has always historically been suck it up, try harder, keep going, bust through the wall. That coping mechanism is the kryptonite to the problem that he has right now, which is chronic fatigue syndrome. You cannot work your way out of that. You by definition, it's the perfect ailment to counteract the superpower coping mechanism that one had developed. And so I'm sure that's pushing him to the limits of his mental and emotional capacity. Yeah. And you can see it when he talks about it, right? And you can get that sense that he is not all that he could be, despite the fact that he runs a podcast around modern wisdom, about coping mechanisms, self-mastery, all those things. And so who better to get himself out of this than a guy like that? Yeah. But there is always a button that you could experience. My button, I found mine. This is why, when we started talking at the beginning, you talked about your back. Yeah. And that was the experience for me, where I was that pushed me to a deep depression, because none of the coping techniques that I had worked. I was just in excruciating chronic pain for months and months and months and months without light at the end of the tunnel. And it's in that world, you either get better, hopefully, or you don't. And if you don't, you either become broken and bitter, which is what most people do, or you find a way to turn that pain into to cope with it. but very few people figure that part out. And I was at that point where it's like, I don't think I can figure this out. I was trying. I was like, I think I'm going to be bitter and broken if this doesn't get better, because I wasn't finding the solution that was like, okay, even if I am like this for the rest of my life, it's going to be okay. And so all that's to say is hopefully you never get challenged in that way. Well, that's actually not fair to say, because hopefully you do get challenged in that way, but hopefully it doesn't break you. Right? Like my hope for everybody is that they're challenged to the limits of their capacity, but no more. To the limits, not beyond their limits, right? Because it is possible that life can just break you, and there is no coming back from that. It's totally possible. Some people, their breaking limit is much sooner, and they can be broken in multitudes of ways. As you become more resilient, become more anti-fragile, there's fewer things in life that can hurt you and break you in that way. But there are some things. So it could be like, if you had kids, losing a kid could be one of those things that breaks you. Losing your partner could be one of those things. Losing the use of your limbs could be that thing. Like, one of the things that, like, I know for myself, no matter how self-actualized and how much self-mastery I claim to possess, I know for me, one of the things that would be the hardest would be to lose my mental acuity and start like something that Chris is struggling with. Like, he's feeling like he doesn't have access to his vocabulary. He doesn't think as clearly as he once did, or as quickly. It's like losing that self is terrifying. The plus side is, as you start to lose that, you start to, hopefully you just lose yourself really quickly, like the Alzheimer's and like dementia. But like, I know that would be very difficult for me. I know losing access to my body would be very difficult, right? Like, that'd be incredible. If I was like quadriplegic, I'd be like, that would be a very tough thing. And I don't think that my current coping techniques would map. And so you'd have to learn it in real time. But and it's useful to know what your button is, so you can start working on that, so that if that button gets pushed, you're not having to like experience it for the first time. This is why we talk about like fear setting, or like talking about death meditation. Like the Stoics, we're always memento mori, remember death, because ostensibly that's one of those buttons that breaks people. Not your death. Presumably your death is a meaningless event in your life because it's done, right? But the death of somebody close to you, that's brutal, especially if it's an extension of you, like a child or something.